Hello and welcome to this final first look exploring session looking at the end of Volpone or The Fox by Ben Jonson. We are going to be exploring from Act 4, Scene 4 to the end of the play. We're doing a maximalist number of scenes in terms of units of action. There are fewer scenes per act, but they like to do from major entrances and exits because that's just the kind of guy he was. Because it's more classical or something, I don't know. So we're about to enter into a massive scene which we don't quite have enough readers for, but we've come up with a plan, so that'll work to get through this, because otherwise it's been a very small compact play, and suddenly we have 4 avocatos turn up. Avocatos, not avocados. Do not get confused. I will get confused, but you don't need to. So, reading today, Volpone, Second Merchant, and also Benario in Act 4 is...
Oh, hi. Yeah, my name is Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States.
Reading Mosca and First Woman is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth. I'm based in the southeast of England.
Reading Lady Politic Would-Be and also Alternating Advocates is...
Aliki Chapel, I'm in the centre of Athens.
Reading Voltore, Peregrine and Androgyno is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I am in nowhere of these places. None of these places. I cannot speak today English.
Reading Corvino, Celia and Sir Politic is...
Sarah Blake, I'm in Germany.
Reading Corbaccio, Nano and First Merchant is...
Alan in Suffolk.
And reading Alternating Avocatos and possibly Third Merchant and maybe some other people as well, but we'll figure that out as we go along, is probably looking terrified into the screen right now. Yes.
I'm Minna, and I'm somewhere in a small town in Berkshire, about an hour from London, in the United Kingdom.
Excellent. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading Notario, as in a notary, and probably lots of other people as well as we go along, and attempting to read stage directions and hopefully just keeping everything moving forward at a reasonable rate, because we've got a lot of text to get through. So, without further ado, we are going to dive into Act 4, Scene 4. Enter Voltore, Corbaccio, Corvino, and Mosca.
Well, now you know the carriage of the business. Your constancy is all that is required unto the safety of it.
Is the guy safely conveyed amongst us? Is that sure? Knows every man his burden?
Yes.
Then shrink not.
But knows the advocate the truth?
Oh, sir, by no means. I devised a formal tale that salved your reputation. But be valiant, sir.
I fear no one but him, that this his pleading should make him stand for a co-heir.
Co-halter? Hang him. We will but use his tongue, his noise, as we do croakers here.
Aye? What shall he do?
When we have done, you mean?
Yeah.
Why, we'll think. Sell him for mummia. He's half dust already. Do not you smile to see this buffalo, how he does sport it with his head? I should, if all were well and past. Sir, only you are he that shall enjoy the crop of all, and these not know for whom they toil.
Aye, peace.
But you shall eat it, much. Worshipful sir, Mercury sit upon your thundering tongue, or the French Hercules, and make your language as conquering as his club, to beat along, as with a tempest, flat our adversaries, but much more yours, sir.
Here they come, have done.
I have another witness, if you need, sir. I can produce.
Who is it?
Sir, I have her.
Act 4, Scene 5. Enter all the avocatori who take their seats. We also have Benario, Celia, Notario, various other officers of justice. Enter, and the first avocado will speak first, and that'll be Aliki starting off the chain.
The like of this the Senate never heard of.
It will come most strange to them when we report it.
The gentlewoman has ever held of unreproved name,
So hath the youth.
the more unnatural part than that of his father.
More of the husband.
I not know to give his act a name, it is so monstrous.
But the impostor, he's a thing created to exceed example.
And all after times.
I never had a true Volpone described but him.
Appear yet those were cited?
All but the old Magnifico Volpone.
Why is not he here?
Please, your fatherhoods, here is his advocate, himself so weak, so feeble.
What are you?
His parasite, his knave, his pander. I beseech the court he may be forced to come, that your grave eyes may bear strong witness of his strange impostures.
Upon my faith and credit with your virtues, he is not able to endure the air.
Bring him, however.
We will see him.
Fetch him.
Your fatherhood's fit pleasures be obeyed.
And exeunt some officers.
But sure the sight will rather move your pities than indignation. May it please the court, in the meantime, he may be heard in me. I know this place most void of prejudice, and therefore crave it, since we have no reason to fear our truth should hurt our cause.
Speak free.
Then know, most honored fathers, I must now discover to your strangely abused ears the most prodigious and most frontless piece of solid impudence and treachery that ever vicious nature yet brought forth to shame the state of Venice. This lewd woman, that once no artificial looks or tears to help the visor she has now put on, hath long been known a close adulteress to that lascivious youth there. Not suspected, I say, but known, and taken in the act with him, and by this man, the easy husband, pardoned, whose timeless bounty makes him now stand here the most unhappy, innocent person that ever man's own goodness made accused. For these, not knowing how to owe a gift of that dear grace, but with their shame being placed above all powers of their gratitude, began to hate the benefit, and in place of thanks, devised to extirp the memory of such an act, wherein I pray your fatherhoods to observe the malice, yea, the rage of creatures discovered in their evils, and what heart shall take even from their crimes. But that anon will more appear. This gentleman, the father, hearing of this foul fact with many others which daily struck at his too tender ears, and grieved in nothing more than that he could not preserve himself a parent, his son's ills growing to that strange flood, at last decreed to disinherit him.
These be strange turns.
The young man's fame was ever fair and honest.
So much more full of danger is his vice that can beguile so under shade of virtue. But as I said, my honored sires, this father, having settled this purpose by what means to him betrayed, we know not. And to this day appointed for the deed, that parricide, I cannot style him better, by confederacy, preparing this his paramour to be there, entered Volpone's house. Who was the man for the inheritance? There sought his father, but with what purpose sought he him, my lords? I tremble to pronounce it, that a son unto a father, and to such a father should have so foul, felonious intent. It was to murder him. When being prevented by his more happy absence, what then did he? Not check his wicked thoughts, nor now new deeds. Mischief doth ever end where it begins, an act of horror, fathers. He dragged forth that aged gentleman that had there lain bedrid 3 years and more, out of his innocent couch, naked upon the floor, there left him, wounded his servant in the face, and with this strumpet, the stale to his forged practice, who was glad to be so active. I shall here desire your fatherhoods to note, but my collections is most remarkable, thought at once to stop his father's ends, discredit his free choice in the old gentleman, redeem themselves by laying infamy upon this man, whom with blushing they should owe their lives.
proofs have you of this?
Most honored fathers, I humbly crave there be no credit given to this man's mercenary tongue.
Forbear.
His soul moves in his fee.
Oh, sir.
This fellow, for 6 souls more, would plead against his maker.
You do forget yourself.
Nay, nay, grave fathers, let him have scope. Can any man imagine that he will spare his accuser? That would not have spared his parent.
Well, produce your proofs.
I would I could forget I were a creature.
Signor Corbaccio,
And Corbaccio comes forward.
What is he?
the father.
Hath he had an oath?
Yes,
What must I do now?
your testimony is craved.
Speak to the knave? I have my mouth stopped with earth. My heart abhors his knowledge. I disclaim in him
But for what cause?
the mere portent of nature. He is utter stranger to my loins.
Have they made you to this?
I will not hear thee, monster of men, swine, goat, wolf, parricide. Speak not, thou viper.
Sir, I will sit down, and rather wish my innocence should suffer than I resist the authority of a father.
Signor Corvino,
Corvino comes forward.
This is strange.
Who is this?
The husband.
Is he sworn?
He is.
Speak then.
This woman, please your fatherhoods, is a whore of most hot exercise, more than a patriarch upon record.
No more.
Nays like a jennet.
Preserve the honour of the court.
I shall, and modesty of your most reverend ears. And yet I hope that I may say these eyes have seen her glued unto that piece of cedar, that fine, well-timbered gallant, and that here the letters may be read through the horn that make the story perfect.
Excellent, sir.
There's no shame in this now, is there?
None.
Or if I said I hope that she were onward to her damnation, if there be a hell greater than a whore and woman, a good Catholic may make the doubt.
His grief hath made him frantic.
Remove him hence.
Look to the woman!
For Celia has swooned.
Rare, prettily feigned again.
Stand from about her.
Give her the air.
What can you say?
My wound, may it please your wisdoms, speaks for me, received in aid of my good patron, when he missed his sought-for father, when that well-taught dame had her cue given her, to cry out, a rape.
Oh, most late impudence, fathers!
Sir, be silent. You had your hearing free, so must they theirs.
I do begin to doubt the imposture here.
This woman has too many moods.
grave fathers, she's a creature of a most professed and prostituted lewdness.
Most impetuous, unsatisfied grave fathers.
May her feignings not take your wisdoms, but this day she baited a stranger, a grave knight, with her loose eyes and more lascivious kisses. This man saw them together on the water in a gondola.
Here is the lady herself that saw them too, without, who then had in the open streets pursued them, but for saving her knight's honour.
Produce that lady.
Let her come.
And exit Moscow.
These things, they strike with wonder.
I am turned a stone.
And then we'll just briefly pause to take in this thing. The effect of these. There are 4 avocatos. We've only got 2 alternating readers, but they do have specific voices. But they do sort of function both as a chorus, i.e., as a unit, but they also have certain interesting individualities. I think there is one reassuring thing about them is that they think Corvino's as much of an arsehole as we do, because they shut him down pretty quick when he starts doing his really horrible invective, and that's reassuring, to giving us an indication that even then people thought Il Corvino was extra. It's not just that the playwright thinks it's an acceptable discourse. It clearly actually isn't. Any thoughts from the room before we plough further into this court scene? This is just sort of to give everyone a in breath. Eric.
Yeah, no, just the starting speeches by Volturi are very much that thing of like, and you're addressing the jury kind of thing. You always seen like, well, I think I've only seen it in American films, not like English ones, British ones, where you've got like sort of the I don't know, the prosecution always like being very dramatic and sort of like, and you, sir, how do you feel about this? And like, can you believe what she did? And all that stuff sort of over the top. Whereas the other 2 don't really have a lawyer in their defense, which is kind of interesting as well, I guess.
Well, yeah, at the time, the way trials worked, you didn't really get the same kind of defence set up that we have today. There was much more a bear pit quality to it, which is very like this, that, the various cases would run into each other. You'd present it to the jury, and the prosecution really had the upper hand on the way it was presented. That sort of back and forth, and making a solid defence for yourself is a much later development in certainly in English law. In practice, it's so this is quite a good sort of sense of the scrum that's going on here, of things that are being batted about. Lynn, and then Sarah.
Yeah, one of the avocato, it means attorney but must mean judge here, tells Benario, you've had your chance to speak. Now it's their turn. When? We didn't see that. So that's a little odd. And yeah, speaking of Volturi's speeches, he does go on. And knowing that the 2 people he's accusing are completely innocent, this is a little painful.
And this is really speaking to the darkness of this text, isn't it? Because this is an entirely spurious prosecution that's going on here. This poor old man was they tried
to kill him.
They tried to kill him, and all of this, and the nature of also what this is covering up, of course, which is sexual assault or attempted sexual assault. This couldn't be more relevant today in a sort of way. And if we think all the way back to Act 1, we had so much fun in Act 1, didn't we, everybody? And you think of the tonal difference that where we are now, and it creeps up on you. Actually, the play doesn't suddenly shift; it just lets that sort of stuff creep in over time. Sarah.
I don't know about that, actually. I felt like I'd been smacked around the face yesterday with those scenes with Celia. I don't felt that they were creeping. I felt they were very much like like walloping you around the shops. But anyway, that's beside the point. I was actually going to say what Lynn said about the fact that the avocado one of them does actually say you had your hearing, and it's kind of terrifying, because if Benario and Celia have already had their hearing, then presumably they were called in to say, well, what do you know about this matter? And they wouldn't know anything. So it's like they're being asked to defend themselves before they've been told what they're accused of. So of course they can't give themselves a good defense, and it's just like
Well, it depends on how compartmentalized these proceedings are. It could be that there was a separate sort of grand jury panel previously to test the weight of the evidence before it came to this level of the court. So they might have had a separate hearing prior to this, and this is the final hearing. But I don't know whether the playwright is thinking that far into it, or whether they've just basically been shoved into a corner and said, "Oh, that was your defence, wasn't it? Go off you go." So it could. There are interesting questions there, Eric, and then we're going to move on.
I was going to say that it's interesting because it's like, we started, as you said, off as a sort of light play, and then it sort of slid into this weird, like, sort of prosecution / like law proceedings, which made me think of like sort of Promos and Cassandra, but like that one was very, very different because from the beginning kind of that it's going to, well, not going to end badly, but like sort of, that it's just sort of in the realm of law and stuff, whereas this one it kind of catches you by surprise.
Okay, let's complete the act. As Alihi is busy as Lady would be, I will alternate as the other whatever their name is, avocados. Yes, and I'll let Minna go first as the first one who speaks when the scene comes up. So Act 4, Scene 6. Enter Mosca with Lady would be politic.
Be resolute, madam.
This same is she.
Points at Celia.
Aurelian harlot, now thine eyes, my tears with the hyena, darest thou look upon my wronged face? Cry your pardons. I fear I have forgettingly transgressed against the dignity of the court.
No, madam.
And been exorbitant.
You have not, lady.
These proofs are strong.
Surely I had no purpose to scandalize your honours or my sexes.
We do believe it.
Surely you may believe it.
Madam, we do.
Indeed you may. My breeding is not so coarse.
We know it.
To offend with pertinacy?
Lady.
Such a presence. No, surely.
We well think it.
You may think it.
Let her come. What witnesses you to make good your report?
Our consciences.
And heaven that never fails the innocent.
Well, these are no testimonies.
Not in your courts where multitude and clamor overcomes.
Nay, then you do wax insolent.
Enter officers bearing Volpone on a couch.
Hear, hear, the testimony comes that will convince and put to utter dumbness their bold tongues. See here, grave fathers, here's the ravisher, the rider on men's wives, the great impostor, the grand voluptuary. Do you not think these limbs should affect venery, or these eyes covet concubine? I pray you mark these hands, are they not fit to stroke a lady's breasts? Perhaps he doth dissemble.
So he does.
Would you have him tortured?
I would have him proved.
Best try him then with goads or burning irons. Put him to the strappado. I've heard the rack hath cured the gout. Faith, give it him, and help him of a malady. Be courteous, I'll undertake before these honoured fathers. He shall have yet as many left diseases as she has known adulterers, or thou strumpets. Oh, my most equal hearers, if these deeds, acts of this bold and most exorbitant strain may pass with sufferance, what one citizen but owes the forfeit of his life, yea, fame to him that dares traduce him. Which of you are safe, my honoured fathers? I would ask with leave of your grave fatherhoods, if their plot have any face or colour like to truth, or if unto the dullest nostril here it smell not rank and most abhorred slander. I crave your care of this good gentleman, whose life is much endangered by their fable, and as for them, I will conclude with this. The vicious persons, when they're hot and fleshed in impious acts, their constancy abounds. Damned deeds are done with greatest confidence.
Take them to custody and sever them.
It's pity two such prodigies should live.
Let the old gentleman be returned with care. I'm sorry our credulity hath wronged him.
These are two creatures.
Oh, I have an earthquake in me.
Their shame, even in their cradles, fled their faces.
You have done a worthy service to the state, sir, in their discovery.
You shall hear, ere night, what punishment the court decrees upon them.
And exeunt the advocates. Following Volpone on his bier, the Notario officers are taking away Benario and Celia.
We thank your fatherhoods. How like you it?
Rare. I'd have your tongue, sir, tipped with gold for this. I'd have you be the heir to the whole city. The earth I'd have want men. Ere you want living, they're bound to erect your statue in St. Mark's. Signor Corvino, I would have you go and show yourself that you have conquered.
Yes.
It was much better that you should profess yourself a cuckold thus, than that the other should have been proved.
Nay, I considered that. Now it is her fault.
Then it had been yours.
True. I do doubt this avocado still.
In faith, you need not. I dare ease you of that care.
I trust thee, Mosca.
Exit Corvino.
As your own soul, sir.
Ah,
Now for your business, sir?
have you business?
Yes, yours, sir.
Oh, none else?
None else, not I.
Be careful then.
Rest you with both your eyes, sir.
Dispatch it.
Instantly.
And look that all, whatever be put in, jewels, plate, monies, household stuff, bedding, curtains.
Curtain ring, sir. Only the advocate's fee must be deducted.
I'll pay him now. You'll be too prodigal.
Sir, I must tender it.
2 chickens as well.
No, 6, sir.
'Tis too much.
He talked a great while. You must consider that, sir.
Well, there's 3.
I'll give it him.
Do so, and there's for thee.
And exit Corbaccio.
Bountiful bones! What horrid strange offence did he commit against nature in his youth, worthy this age? You see, sir, how I work unto your ends. Take you no notice?
No, I'll leave you.
Exit Voltore.
All is yours, the devil and all. Good advocate, madam, I'll bring you home.
No, I'll go and see your patron.
That you shall not. I'll tell you why. My purpose is to urge my patron to reform his will, and for the zeal you have shewn today, whereas before you were but 3rd or 4th, you shall be now put in the 1st, which would appear as begged if you were present. Therefore,
You shall sway me.
And exeunt. So, Lady Politic Woodbill has had some function in the plot. Lady Politic has done something, ladies and gentlemen. Not something that's very nice, but has actually engaged with the rest of the play. And as we've so far enjoyed Lady Politic Woodby considerably more than we have her husband, that feels like there's a stay of execution for potential productions there of just cutting her completely. Thoughts about this this sort of extended trial sequence now that we've finished it? There will be more trials to come. Elizabeth.
just speaking to what you were saying before, Rob, I just thought it was really dynamic. It was just like, I was just thinking about court cases like I see on dramas and like in narratives, and it's always like this dramatic pauses and slow build, but this one just felt like it was careening, almost out of control, and everyone was speaking on top of each other. And I think it's Voltore, even his speeches, I felt they were fast, that he had a lot to say and he had a lot to get out. I just felt there was a lot of speed to it and a lot of dynamism.
Other thoughts, Eric?
Well, if he spoke slower, they would have time to think about it, which is kind of, I think that's kind of his point, where he's like a fast-talking, slick city lawyer kind of thing.
Yeah, it's that thing, is he's tying everyone out, this terrible narrative that he's telling, that and it's quite over the top, and he to a degree believes a lot of it. I mean, it's not like he's lying. Actually, he's putting forward his case. Aliki.
There's a horrible absurdity to it. There's almost a Queen of Hearts off with her head kind of level bizarreness.
Yeah. I certainly I find with the advocates that the if anyone's seen Merrily We Roll Along, they're the blob. They're all individuals, but they're all part of the same thing that just stands there commenting in different ways. Or maybe more like the Judgment Transformer from Transformers the movie. That might be a reference too far. Sarah.
Yeah, they both just went completely over my head. I want to talk about Lady Politic because we were talking yesterday about, cuts to be made and where you would make them, and how to cut the number of characters down so that you could double it with a smaller cast. And now that we know that she does interact with the sort of main plot, and the way she does it, I think I'm even more interested in cutting her husband than I was, which I mean I was very much pro cutting Sir Politic yesterday, but like I just think unless he turns out to also be massively involved in the plot, and I can't remember if he is or not, but I think that would be great, because quite apart from practically getting the numbers down, it would also turn that thing on its head, because he's been referred to all the time. And she was meant to go out yesterday. In the last session we discovered that she, Mosca gulls her by saying, "Oh, your husband's out on the water with a courtesan," and now she thinks Celia is the courtesan. So it's like he's mentioned by name, but he never appears. And if we were to cut him, and I think that would just be so great, because it would take that sort of hackneyed trope of the wife that never appears that everyone talks about, the sort of her indoors kind of syndrome, and would just kind of turn it on its head. So I'm liking this idea of cutting him more and more.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's huge comic business out of the advocates trying to talk, because the game there is that she is talking at them just as much as she's doing it at Volpone, and they're each trying to step in, and no, she's still going, and yes, they are sympathetic and they are listening, but she's still doing exactly the same comedy gag earlier, but in a different format. So there's a nice continuity to that. Effectively, Volpone's scene with her earlier is setting up the way that because of course what she's also doing is something really horrible, but that there is sort of a humorous structure to it, plays with how that scene flows. Okay, we need to crack on with Act 5 and see how this goes. We will return to court, and there will be lots of people speaking at the same time later on, but we'll see how this goes. Act 5, Scene 1, enter Volpone.
Well, I am here, and all this brunt is past. I ne'er aught was in dislike with my disguise till this fled moment. Here 'twas good, in private, but in your public, cave whilst I breathe. Fore God, my left leg began to have the cramp, and I apprehended straight some power had struck me with a dead palsy. Well, I must be merry and shake it off. Many of these fears would put me in some villainous disease, should they come thick upon me. I'll prevent them. Give me a bowl of lusty wine to fright this humor from my heart.
And he drinks.
'Tis almost gone already. I shall conquer any device now of rare ingenious knavery that would possess me with a violent laughter, would make me up again.
And drinks again.
So. This heart is life. 'Tis blood by this time. Mosca!
And Act 5, Scene 2, enter Mosca.
How now, sir? Does the day look clear again? Are we recovered and wrought out of error into our way to see a path before us? Is our trade free once more?
Exquisite Mosca!
Was it not carried learnedly?
And stoutly? Good wits are greatest in extremities.
It were folly beyond thought to trust any grand act unto a cowardly spirit. You are not taken with it enough, methinks.
Oh, more than if I had enjoyed the wench. The pleasure of all womankind's not like it.
Why, now you speak, sir. We must here be fixed. Here we must rest. This is our masterpiece. We cannot think to go beyond this.
True. Thou hast played the prize, my precious Mosca.
Nay, sir, to gull the court.
and quite divert the torrent upon the innocent.
Yes, and to make so rare a music out of discord.
Right. And that yet to me's the strangest. How thou hast borne it, that these, being so divided amongst themselves, should not set somewhat, or in me, or in thee, or doubt of their own side.
True, they will not see it. Too much light blinds them, I think. Each of them is so possessed and stuffed with his own hopes that anything unto the contrary, never so true, or never so apparent, never so palpable, they will resist it.
Like a temptation of the devil.
Right, sir. Merchants may talk of trade, and your great signors of land that yields well. But if Italy have any glebe more fruitful than these fellows, I am deceived. Did not your advocate rare?
Oh, my most honored fathers, my grave fathers, under correction of your fatherhoods, what face of truth is here, if these strange deeds may pass, most honored fathers? I had much ado to forbear laughing.
It seemed to me you sweat, sir.
In troth, I did a little.
But confess, sir, were you not daunted?
In good faith, I was a little in a mist, but not dejected, never but still myself.
I think it, sir. Now, so truth help me, I must needs say this, sir, and out of conscience for your advocate, he has taken pains in faith, sir, and deserved in my poor judgment, I speak it under favour, not to contrary you, sir, very richly, well, to be cozened.
Troth, I think it so too, but that I heard him in the latter end.
Oh, but before, sir, had you heard him first draw it to certain heads, then aggravate, then use his vehement figures? I looked still when he would shift a shirt, and doing this out of pure love, no hope of gain.
'Tis right. I cannot answer him, Mosca, as I would, not yet. But for thy sake, at thy entreaty, I will begin, even now, to vex them all, this very instant.
Good, sir.
Call the dwarf and eunuch forth.
Castrone, Nano.
Enter Castrono and Nano.
Here.
Shall we have a jig now?
What you please, sir.
Go. Straight give out about the streets, you two, that I am dead. Do it with constancy, sadly, do you hear? Impute it to the grief of this late slander.
Exeunt Castrone and Nano.
Sir.
Oh, I shall have instantly my vulture, crow, raven come flying hither on the news to peck for carrion, my she-wolf and all, greedy and full of expectation.
And then to have it ravished from their mouths.
'Tis true. I will have thee put on a gown and take upon thee as thou wert mine heir. Show them a will, open that chest, and reach forth one of those that has the blanks. I'll straight put in thy name.
It will be rare, sir.
Aye, when they even gape and find themselves deluded,
Yes.
and thou use them scurvily, dispatch, get on thy gown.
But what, sir, if they ask after the body?
Say it was corrupted.
I'll say it stunk, sir, and was fain to have it coffined up instantly and sent away.
Anything, what thou wilt. Hold, here's my will. Get thee a cap, account book, pen, and ink. Papers afore thee. Sit as thou were taking an inventory of parcels. I'll get up behind the curtain on a stool and hearken. Sometime peep over to see how they look, with what degrees their blood doth leave their faces. Oh, 'twill afford me a rare meal of laughter.
Your advocate will turn stark dull upon it.
It will take off his oratory's edge.
But your Clarissimo, old Roundback, he will crump you like a hoglouse with the touch.
And what Corvino?
Oh, sir, look for him tomorrow morning with a rope and dagger to visit all the streets. You must run mad. My lady, too, that came into the court to bear false witness for your worship.
Yes, and kissed me for the fathers when my face flowed with oils.
And sweat, sir. Why, your gold is such another medicine. It dries up all those offensive savours. It transforms the most deformed and restores them lovely, as 'twere the strange poetical girdle. Jove could not invent himself a shroud more subtle to pass Acrisius' guards. It is the thing makes all the world her grace, her youth, her beauty.
I think she loves me.
Who? The lady, sir? She's jealous of you.
Dost thou say so?
Knock from without.
Hark, there's some already.
Look.
It is the vulture. He has the quickest scent.
I'll to my place, thou to thy posture.
Volpone makes to move to hide.
I am set.
But Mosca, play the artificer now. Torture them rarely.
And off he goes to hide. Act 5, Scene 3. Enter Voltore.
How now, my Mosca?
Turkey carpets, 9.
Taking an inventory, that is well.
2 suits of bedding, tissue.
Where's the will? Let me read that the while.
At this moment we have enter servants with Corbaccio in a chair.
No, set me down. Get you home.
Is he come now to trouble us?
Exeunt.
Of cloth of gold, 2 more.
Is it done, Mosca?
Of several velvets, 8.
I like his care.
Dost thou not hear?
And to complete the set, enter Corvino.
Ah, is the hour come, Mosca?
Volpone randomly speaks. I apologise. Sometimes it's very difficult to see Voltore and Volpone in this script.
That was my problem. Aye, now they muster.
What? Does the advocate hear? Or is this Corbaccio?
What do these here?
Enter Lady Politic Would-be.
Mosca, is his thread spun?
8 chests of linen.
Oh, my fine dame would be, too.
Mosca, the will. The time I show it these and rid them hence.
6 chests of diaper, 4 of damask. There.
Is that the will?
Yes, and they all have a look at the will.
Down beds and bolsters.
Rare, be busy still. Now they begin to flutter. They think of me. Look, see, how their swift eyes run over the long deed until the name and the legacies, what is bequeathed them there.
10 suits of hangings.
Aye, in their garters, Mosca. Now their hopes are all at gasp.
Mosca, the heir.
What's that?
My advocate is dumb. Look to my merchant. He has heard of some strange storm. A ship is lost. He faints. My lady will swoon. Old Glazen Eyes, he hath not reached his despair yet.
All these are out of hope, I'm sure the man.
But Mosca,
2 cabinets.
is this Platonist?
1 of ebony.
Or do you but delude me?
The other mother of pearl. I am very busy. Good faith, it is a fortune thrown upon me. Item, 1 salt of agate, not my seeking.
Here, sir.
A perfumed box. Pray you forbear. You see I'm troubled. Made of onyx.
How?
Tomorrow or next day, I shall be at leisure to talk with you all.
Is this my large hope's issue?
Sir, I must have a fairer answer.
Madam, marry and shall. Pray you, fairly quit my house. Nay, raise no tempest with your looks, but hark you, remember what your ladyship offered me to put you in an heir. Go to, think on it, and what you said e'en your best madams did for maintenance, and why not you? Enough. Go home and use the poor Sir Paul, your knight, well, for fear I tell some riddles. Go, be melancholy.
Exit Lady Would-be.
Oh, my fine devil.
Mosca, pray you a word.
Lord, will you not take your dispatch hence yet? Methinks of all you should have been the example. Why should you stay here? With what thought? What promise? Hear you, do you not know? I know you an ass, and that you would most fain have been a whittle, if fortune would have let you, that you are a declared cuckold on good terms. This pearl, you'll say, was yours, right? This diamond? I'll not deny it, but thank you. Much here else? It may be so. Why, think that these good works may help to hide your bad? I'll not betray you, although you be but extraordinary, and have it only in title, it sufficeth. Go home, be melancholy too, or mad.
Rare Mosca, how his villainy becomes him.
Certain he doth delude all these for me.
Hair?
Oh, his 4 eyes have found it.
Cozened, cheated, by parasite slave. Harlot, thou'st gulled me.
Yes, sir, stop your mouth, or I shall draw the only tooth is left. Are not you he, that filthy covetous wretch, with the 3 legs that, here in hope of prey, have any time this 3 years snuffed about, with your most grovelling nose, and would have hired me to the poisoning of my patrons, sir? Are not you he that have today in court professed the disinheriting of your son? Perjured yourself? Go home and die and stink. If you but croak a syllable, all comes out. Away, and call your porters.
Exit Corbaccio.
Go, stink.
Excellent varlet.
Now, my faithful Mosca, I find thy constancy
Sir,
sincere.
a table of porphyry. I marvel you'll be thus troublesome.
Nay, leave off now, they're all gone.
Why, who are you? What? Who did send for you? Oh, cry you mercy, reverend sir. Good faith, I am grieved for you, that any chance of mine should thus defeat your, I must needs say, most deserving travails. But I protest, sir, it was cast upon me, and I could almost wish to be without it, but that the will of the dead must be observed. Marry, my joy is that you need it not. You have a gift, sir, thank your education, will never let you want, while there are men and malice to breed causes. Would I had but half the like, for all my fortune, sir. If I have any suits, as I do hope, things being so easy and direct, I shall not. I will make bold with your obstreperous aid. Conceive me, for your fee, sir. In meantime, you that have so much law, I know I have the conscience, not to be covetous of what is mine. Good sir, I thank you for my plate. 'Twill help to set up a young man. Good faith, you look as you were costive. Best go home and purge, sir.
Exit Voltore.
Bid him eat lettuce well, my witty mischief. Let me embrace thee. Oh, that I could now transform thee to a Venus. Mosca, go straight, take my habit of Clarissimo, and walk the streets. Be seen, torment them more. We must pursue as well as plot. Who would have lost this feast?
I doubt it will lose them.
Oh, my recovery shall recover all, that I could now but think on some disguise to meet them in and ask them questions, how I would vex them still at every turn.
Sir, I can fit you.
Canst thou?
Yes, I know one of the commendadori, sir, so like you. Him will I straight make drunk and bring you his habit.
A rare disguise at answering thy brain. Oh, it will be a sharp disease unto them.
Sir, you must look for curses.
They will burst. The fox fares ever best when he is cursed.
And they exit. So we have something of a changed direction. Volpone sort of comes on. I have no more worlds to conquer. I've done it all. And Mosca's going, yeah, should we retire? Should we retire? Should we just retire with the loot? Should we just retire? Should we just retire? No, I'm going to pretend to be dead. Because it'll be a laugh. And yeah, It's a terrible plan. And it sort of comes sort of bit left field. I mean, it sort of fits within the character, but it's sort of just it's it's interesting. Thoughts from the room on this change of direction. It's a mirror scene to Act 1 where everybody comes in and fawns, and then they're all in order getting tossed away, as it were. Alan.
Yeah, I got confused there because we got Volpone and Voltore on there, and I suspect, in fact, what we've got is that the Volpone speeches are all asides.
Yes, because
not perceived by Voltore.
Yes, everything Volpone says after being in hiding is effectively an aside. Yes. Yes. Other thoughts?
Yeah.
Len?
I think this is the point where the audience starts to think, okay, this is going to be the bridge too far. They're going to push it just a little too far and get caught.
Yeah, and it's sort of it's a total own goal. I mean, if Volpone during the court scene had pretended to die, or that was a gambit in the previous scene, then it would sort of flow sort of more naturally. But it's the fact that Volpone has chosen to do this that is really interesting. As he's decided to do this in the cold light of day. It's really interesting. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of other plays that we've done that someone's pretended to be dead, and like to see what would happen. And I just kept thinking of Friends, when Ross pretends that he's dead so that he sees how many people care about his funeral and things. And there's only one person turns up, and he's furious. And I just thought, what's the intention behind it? What's the rationale by pretending that they're dead? Lynn was saying that they're pushing it a bit too far. They're going a bit too far with this now. But I was just wondering, what's the intention? Is there money to be made from pretending to be dead?
I know it does seem to be entirely. And the thing is, Mosca doesn't want to go that far. He's saying, let's quit while we're ahead. So it's not about money, and frequently it isn't about money with Volpone. It's interesting how uninterested.
It's about torturing people.
Yeah, it's about doing bad things. Lynn, then Sarah.
Yeah, so it becomes clear in this sequence that Volpone kind of has a sadistic streak, that he just enjoys having one over on people. I mean, he's going to take pleasure in their distress. I mean, granted, their distress, it happens because they were greedy and dishonest and got caught. But yeah, at this point, Volpone just wants to twist the knife. So I think that's one of the things that kind of signals that this is too far. It's not just about getting money from them. It's about harming for the sake of doing harm. And that is probably, in the world of the drama, too far.
Sarah, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, he did say this right at the beginning of the play, or quite close to the beginning of the play. He does have a speech, I can't find it now, about how, yes, okay, it's about getting the money, but it's more than that. It's about getting one over on these people, and he actually enjoys the game as much, or he might even say, if not more, than the money. So it's definitely, it's malicious, and I just think he's on a high from having dodged the court case, and so he's full of kind of joyful malice, and he's also full of hubris because he's won. And I mean, it was by no means certain that he would get out of that situation. Another playwright would have maybe just ended the play with that court case and had the outcome come out differently. But he's survived, and so I think he's kind of driven to, by his own hubris and narcissism and just the joy he takes in torturing people to push on. But it's interesting because it does, we keep saying that the play takes all these dark turns, and you could play him in this scene like several different ways, but there's definitely scope for taking him like kind of right over the edge, I think, in this scene.
Yeah, and he's interesting because maybe he's like a gambler. He's just addicted to the gamble. But also, how many points in this closing session will we go, right? The play could end here, because the play could end here. Actually, this is sort of resolves everything from Act One to a degree. He could, he's pretending he's dead. He's got one on every. He could now disappear. It could have ended at the end of the last scene. How many points do we have? Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, and there is that slight feeling for here. But anyway, let's go to the room we're so excited to join, as we're going to rejoin Sir Politic Woodby and Peregrine. So I'm sure this is going to be a delight. Act 5, Scene 4. Enter Peregrine disguised and 3 merchants. Third merchant is Minna. Yes, I can confirm that.
Am I enough disguised?
I warrant you.
Well, my ambition is to fright him only.
If you could ship him away, 'twere excellent.
To that or to Aleppo?
Yes, and have his adventures put in the book of voyages and his God story registered for truth. Well, gentlemen, when I am in a while, and think that you think us warm in our discourse, know your approaches.
Trust it to our care.
Exuent merchants. Enter waiting woman.
Save you, fair lady. Is Sir Paul within?
I do not know, sir.
Pray you say unto him, here is a merchant upon his earnest business desires to speak with him.
I will see, sir.
Exit woman.
Pray you, I see that the family is all female here.
Re-enter waiting woman.
He says, sir, he has weighty affairs of state that now require him whole. Some other time you may possess him.
Pray you say again, if those require him whole, these will exact him whereof I bring him tidings.
Exit waiting woman again.
What might be his grave state of affair now? His grave affair of state now? How to make Bolognian sausages here in Venice, sparing one of the ingredients?
Enter waiting woman.
Sir, he says he knows by your word tidings that you are no statesman, and therefore wills you stay.
Sweet, pray you return him. I have not read so many proclamations, nor studied them for words as he has done. But here he deigns to come.
And exit woman. Enter Sir Politic.
Sir, I must crave your courteous pardon. There hath chanced today unkind disaster twixt my lady and me, and I was penning my apology to give her satisfaction as you came now.
Sir, I am grieved to bring you worse disaster. The gentleman you met at the port today that told you he was newly arrived.
I was a fugitive punk.
No, sir, a spy set on you, and he's made relation to the Senate that you profess to him to have a plot to sell the state of Venice to the Turk.
Oh, me.
For which warrants are signed by this time to apprehend you and to search your study for papers.
Alas, sir, I have none but notes drawn out of playbooks.
All the better, sir.
And some essays. What shall I do?
Sir, best convey yourself into a sugar chest, or if you could lie round, a frail were rare, then I could send you abroad.
Sir, I but talk so for discourse sake merely.
There's a knock without.
Hark, there.
I'm a wretch.
What will you do, sir? Have you never current but to leap into? They'll put you to the rack. You must be sudden.
Sir, I have an engine.
Sir Politic would be.
Where is he?
That I have thought upon before time.
What is it?
I shall ne'er endure the torture. Marry, it is, sir, of a tortoise shell, fitted for these extremities. Pray you, sir, help me. Here I've a place, sir, to put back my legs. Please you to lay it on, sir.
And lies down while climbing into a shell.
And with this cap and my black gloves, I'll lie, sir, like a tortoise, till they are gone.
And call you this an engine?
Mine own device, good sir. Bid my wife's woman to burn my papers.
Exit Peregrine. The three merchants rush in.
She hid!
We must. We will sure find him.
Which is his study?
Enter Peregrine.
What are you, sir?
I'm a merchant that came here to look upon this tortoise.
How?
St. Mark, what beast is this?
It is a fish.
Come out here.
Nay, you may strike him, sir, and tread upon him. He'll bear a character.
What, to run over him?
Yes, sir.
Let's jump upon him.
Can he not go?
He creeps, sir.
Let's see him creep.
No good, sir. You will hurt him.
Hurt, I will see him creep or prick his guts.
Come out here.
Pray you, sir. Creep a little.
Forth!
Yet farther.
Good, sir. Creep.
We'll see his legs.
They pull off the shell and discover him.
Odd so, he has garters.
Aye, and gloves.
Is this your fearful tortoise?
Now, Sir Paul, we are even. For your next project, I shall be prepared. I'm sorry for the funeral of your notes, sir.
Well, a rare motion to be seen in Fleet Street.
Aye, in the term.
Or Smithfield in the fair.
Methinks 'tis but a melancholy sight.
Very well, most politic tortoise.
And exeunt Peregrine and merchants re-enter waiting woman.
Where's my lady? Knows she of this?
I know not, sir.
Inquire. Oh, I shall be the fable of all feasts, the freight of the Gazette, ship boy's tale, and, which is worse, even talk for ordinaries.
My lady's come most melancholy home, and says there she will straight to sea for physic.
And I to shun this place and climb forever, creeping with house on back, and think it well to shrink my poor head in my politic shell.
And exeunt. So, ends the scene we were all expecting. I mean, this is exactly where we thought Sir Politic was going to go. We all thought that he was going to cosplay a tortoise. That was clear from his first scene. It's been clearly signposted. It is so utterly random. And it does create an interesting problem because, in a sense, I'm going, Sir Politic is pointless and goes nowhere. But there is cosplaying a tortoise, and that is actually a really stupid, random idea. It is so random. I kind of love it, and I'm sort of going, but it really is pointless, and he really goes nowhere, and he adds nothing to this play. In my humble opinion. However, people are more. It's fine for you to disagree. I'll go to Alan, then Sarah briefly because we'll need to move on.
I've obviously got this comedy sketch lying around. I can't find a home for it. Oh, I'll bung it in here.
Yes, who bought a tortoise shell? What show was there a tortoise shell left over
the
from?
company had one.
It's like the bear costume, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got the prop. Let's use it.
Yes, we got this massive cart for Tamburlaine. You have to write it into every play for the rest of the year. Sarah.
Yeah, I'm getting strong brazen head vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wonder, like, and I don't know the answer, but I'm thinking if you sat down and went through the play with this to find out whether it would be possible to take this little scene and give it to Corbaccio, for example, and have Musca and Volpone gulling him into putting the shell. You know, the shell could be lying, or it could be one of the weird random treasures that somebody's brought Volpone as a tribute, and they could maybe, because Corbaccio is the really old Dorry one, they could maybe persuade him to get into the shell because there's someone coming for him or whatever, so that you could keep this scene, because it is so hilarious, but lose Sir Politic and lose Peregrine and lose all the rest of them because they don't really add much to the play.
Yeah, but it is 10% of our cutting quota, we need to cut about 9,000 words potentially from this play. That's a rough guesstimate, and that's a good 900 words that go like that. So there is part of me going, sometimes you have to sacrifice. Sometimes you do have to sacrifice good bits from a play when cutting. It's not always easy. Anyway, we are going to move on as time is moving rapidly on. So we do need to crack on with some the rest of the play. Act 5, Scene 5. Enter Mosca in habit of a commendatore and Volpone of a clarissimo.
Am I then like him?
Oh, sir, you are he. No man can sever you.
Good.
But what am I?
For heaven, a brave clarissimo thou becomest it. Pity thou wert not born one.
If I hold my maid one, 'twill be well.
I'll go and see what news first at the court.
And exit Volpone.
Do so. My fox is out of his hole, and ere he shall re-enter, I'll make him languish in his borrowed case, except he come to composition with me. Androgino, Castrone, Nano.
And they enter.
Here. Go recreate yourselves abroad. Go sport.
And they exit, leaving Mosca alone.
So, now I have the keys and am possessed, since he will needs be dead afore his time. I'll bury him, or gain by him, am his heir, and so will keep me till he share at least to cousin him of all, were but a cheat, well placed. No man would construe it a sin, let his sport pay for it. This is called the fox trap.
Exit Mosca, Act 5, Scene 6. Enter Corbaccio and Corvino.
They say the court is set.
We must maintain our first tale good for both our reputations.
Why, mine's no tale. My son would there have killed me.
Oh, that's true. I had forgot. Mine is, I am sure. But for your will, sir.
Aye, I'll come upon him. For that hereafter, now his patron's dead.
And enter Volpone.
Signor Corvino and Carpaccio, sir, much joy unto you.
Of what?
The sudden good drop down upon you.
Where?
And none knows how, from old Volpone, sir.
Thou darrant knave.
Let not your too much wealth, sir, make you furious.
Away, thou varlet.
Why, sir?
Dost thou mock me?
You mock the world, sir. Did you not change wills?
Out, harlot.
Oh, belike you are the man, Signor Corvino. Faith, you carry it well. You grow not mad withal. I love your spirit. You are not over-leavened with your fame, with your fortune. You should have some, would swell now, like a wine fat, with such an autumn. Did he give you all, sir?
Avoid, you rascal.
Troth, your wife has shown herself a very woman, but you are well. You need not care. You have good estate to bear it out, sir. Better by this chance. Except Corbaccio have a share.
Hence, varlets.
You will not be known, sir. Why, 'tis wise. Thus do all gamesters at all games dissemble. No man will seem to win.
Exeunt Corvino and Corbaccio.
Here comes my vulture, having his beak up in the air, snuffing.
Enter Voltore for Scene 7.
Outstripped thus by a parasite, a slave, would run on errands and
no,
make
that's Voltore, sorry.
Oh, I'm, again, sorry.
I was afeard to interrupt. Outstripped thus by a parasite, a slave would run on errands and make legs for crumbs. Well, what I'll do...
The court stays for your worship. I even rejoice, sir, at your worship's happiness that it fell in so learned hands to understand the fingering.
What do you mean?
I mean, to be a suitor to your worship for the small tenement out of reparations that to the end of your long row of houses by the Piscaria, it was in Volpone's time, your predecessor, ere he grew diseased, a handsome, pretty customed bawdy house, as any in Venice, none dispraised, but fell with him, his body and that house decayed together.
Come, sir, leave your prating.
Why, if your worship give me but your hand, that I may have the refusal, I have done. 'Tis a mere toy to you, sir, candle rents, as your learned worship knows.
What do I know?
Marry, no end of your wealth, sir, God decrease it.
Mistaking knave, what mockst thou my misfortune?
Exit Voltore.
His blessing on your heart, sir, would 'twere more. Now, to my first again, at the next corner.
Exit Volpone, Act 5, Scene 8. Enter Corbaccio and Corvino. Mosca passes over the stage before them.
Not it. Say the impudent varlet.
That I could shoot mine eyes at him like gunstones.
Enter Volpone.
But is this true, sir, of the parasite?
Again, to afflict us, monster.
Oh, in good faith, sir, I'm heartily grieved. A beard of your grave length should be so overreached. I never brooked that parasite's hair. Methought his nose should cousin. There still was somewhat in his look. Did promise the bane of the Clarissimo?
Dave.
Methinks, yet you, that are so traded in the world, a witty merchant and a fine bird, Corvino, that have such moral emblems on your name, should have sung your shame and dropped your cheese to let the fox laugh at your emptiness.
Sarah, you think the privilege of the place, your red saucy cap, well, it seems to be nailed to your jolt head with those two check-queens, can warrant your abuses. Come you hither, you shall perceive, sir, I dare beat you. Approach.
No haste, sir. I do know your valor well, since you durst publish what you are, sir.
Tarry, I'd speak with you.
Sir, another time.
Nay, now!
Oh, Lord, sir, I were a wise man, would stand a fury of a distracted cuckold.
But at this point they see Mosca once again passing by.
What, come again?
Upon him, Moscow, save me!
Yes, infected where he breathes.
Let's fly him!
And
Excellent
exuent Corvino and Corbaccio.
Excellent basilisk, turn upon the vulture.
Act 5, Scene 9. Enter Voltore.
Well, Fleshfly, it is summer with you now. Your winter will come on.
Good advocate, did he not rail, nor threaten out of place stuff? Thou'lt make a solecism, as madam says. Get you a biggin more, your brain breaks loose.
And exit Mosca.
Well, sir.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, that's-
Well, sir.
Would you have me beat the insolent slave? Throw dirt upon his first good clothes?
This same is doubtless some familiar.
Sir, the court in troth stays for you. I am made a mule that never read Justinian, should get up and ride an advocate. Had you no quirk to avoid gullage, sir, by such a creature? I hope you do but jest. He has not done it. 'Tis but confederacy to blind the rest. You are the heir.
A strange, officious, troublesome knave, dost torment me.
I know. It cannot be, sir, that you should be cozened. 'Tis not within the wit of a man to do it. You are so wise, so prudent, and 'tis fit that wealth and wisdom should go together.
And they exit. So it's interesting. We've got another, effectively, same sort of game here. It's as we had slightly earlier on. Volpone's doing more poking of the bear. He's doing it by dressing Mosca up in more finery, and Volpone's in disguise, just going ha 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 at these people. So he's just sort of winding them up a lot. But I think the important element here is what's happening to Mosca. That little bit where Mosca's sort of just going, he has given me power. I quite like this power. This is quite nice. So, yeah, you can sort of see how pretending to be dead, he's got this question of how does he pretend to be alive again? How do you come back from that? Because, you know, they'll have cancelled his bank cards. You know, it's quite hard proving yourself to be alive if you've been declared dead. It's not easy to do even in the early modern. So, yeah, he doesn't know it yet, but the play is indicating to us he has possibly cooked his own goose here. Any brief thoughts before we carry on?
Yeah, Moscow's up to something. It's like, I'm not gonna, I don't know, testify on your behalf basically until he comes to composition with me, meaning pays me off. So yeah, Moscow's got a long game going, I think.
Yeah, and everybody's fluttering around, and people are sort of just looking at the court case coming up, just going, "Oh, did we say something that's perjury? Did we commit perjury? I didn't. No, I didn't. I think I did. So there's chickens coming home to roost for other people as well. So it's there's some interesting stuff going on there. Okay, we will go into the return of the Advocato. So we'll begin the swapping procedure as previously practiced. So I'll say, Minna, if you could take off with the first one, and Aliki, if you could continue being the alternatee, if that works. And well, it seemed to work last time, just about. So we'll keep going. Act 5, Scene 10. Enter Advocato. Notario, Bonario, Celia, Corbaccio, Corvino, and various officers, etc.
Are all the parties here?
All but the advocate.
And here he comes.
Enter Voltore and Volpone.
Then bring them forth to sentence.
Oh, my most honored fathers, let your mercy once win your justice to forgive. I'm distracted.
What will he do now?
Oh, I know not which to address myself to first, whether your fatherhoods or these innocents.
Betray himself.
Whom equally I have abused, out of most covetous ends.
The man is mad. He is possessed.
For which now struck in conscience, here I promise myself at your offended feet for pardon.
Arise.
Rise.
Oh, heaven, how just thou art.
I'm caught in my own noose.
Be constant, sir. Naught now can help but impudence.
Speak forward.
Silence!
It is not passion in me, reverend fathers, but only conscience. Conscience, my good sires, that makes me now to tell truth. That parasite, that knave, hath been the instrument of all.
Where is that knave? Fetch him.
I go.
And exit Volpone.
Grave fathers, this man's distracted. He confessed it now, for hoping to be old Volpone's heir, who now is dead.
Oh. Is Volpone dead?
Dead since, grave fathers.
Oh, sure, vengeance.
Stay. Then he was no deceiver?
Oh, no, none. The parasite, grave fathers.
He does speak out of mere envy, 'cause the servants made the thing he gaped for. Please your fatherhoods, this is the truth, though I'll not justify the other, but he may be some deal faulty.
I bet your hopes as well as mine, Corvino, but I'll use modesty, pleaseth your wisdoms, to view these certain notes, but confer them, as I hope favor they shall speak clear truth.
The devil has entered him.
Or bides in you.
We have done ill by a public officer to send for him, if he be heir.
For whom?
Him that they call the parasite.
'Tis true, he is a man of great estate, now left.
Go you and learn his name, and say the court entreats his presence here, but to the clearing of some few doubts.
Exit Notario.
This seems a labyrinth.
Stand you unto your first report.
My state, my life, my fame
Where is it?
are at the stake.
Is yours so, too?
Advocate's a knave and has a forked tongue.
Speak to the point.
So is the parasite too.
This is confusion.
I do beseech your fatherhoods read, but these...
Give some papers.
And credit nothing the false spirit hath writ. It cannot be, but he's possessed, grave fathers.
And they exeunt Act 5, Scene 11, enter Volpone.
To make a snare of mine own neck and run my head into it willfully, with laughter, when I had newly escaped, was free and clear, out of mere wantonness. How the whole devil was in this brain of mine when I devised it, and Mosca gave it second. He must now help to sear up this vein, or we bleed dead.
Enter Nano, Androgino, and Castrone.
How now? Who let you loose? Whither go you now? What, to buy gingerbread, or to drown kitlings?
Ah, Master Mosca called us out of doors. I bid us all go play and took the keys.
Yes.
Did Master Mosca take the keys? Why so? I'm farther in. These are my fine conceits. I must be merry with a mischief to me. What a vile wretch was I that could not bear my fortune soberly. I must have my crotchets and my conundrums. Well, go you and seek him. His meaning may be truer than my fear. Bid him he straight come to me to the court. Thither will I, and if it be possible, unscrew my advocate upon new hopes. And I provoked him, and then lost myself.
And exeunt Act 5, Scene 12. We return to the court with pretty much everybody back on as they were before, if in fact they even exited. First advocate can be a Leaky. Go first.
These things can ne'er be reconciled. He,
Showing the papers.
professeth that the gentleman was wronged, and that the gentlewoman was brought hither forced by her husband, and there left.
Most true.
How ready is heaven to those that pray.
But that Volpone would have ravished her, he holds utterly false, knowing his impotence.
Corvino?
Sorry, that's me. Grave fathers, he's possessed. Again, I say possessed. Nay, if there be possession and obsession, he has both.
Here comes our officer.
Enter Volpone disguised as officer.
The parasite will straight be here, grave fathers.
You might invent some other name, Sir Varlet.
Did not the notary meet him?
Not that I know.
His coming will clear all.
Yes, it is misty.
May it please your fatherhoods.
Sir, the parasite willed me to tell you that his master lives. You are still the man, your hope's the same, and this was only a jest.
How?
Sir, to try if you were firm, and how you stood affected.
Art sure he lives?
Do I live, sir?
Oh, me, I was too violent.
Sir, you may redeem it. They said you are possessed. Fall down, and seem so. I'll help make it good.
And Voltore falls.
God bless the man! Stop your wind hard and swell. See! He vomits crooked pins. His eyes are set like a dead man's hung in a poultry shop. His mouth's running away. Do you see, senor? Now it is in his belly.
The devil!
Now in his throat.
I perceive it plain.
Twill out, stand clear. See where it flies. In the shape of a blue toad with bat's wings. Did you not see it, sir?
What? I think I do.
'Tis too manifest.
Look, he comes to himself.
Where am I?
Take good heart. The worst is past, sir. You are dispossessed.
What accident is this?
Sudden and full of wonder.
If he were possessed, as it appears, all this is nothing.
He has been often subject to these fits.
Show him that writing. Do you know it, sir?
Deny it. Forswear it. Know it not.
Yes, I do know it well. It is my hand, but all that it contains is fake.
Practice.
What maze is this?
Is he not guilty then? Whom are their names? Whom you there name the parasite?
Grave father's no more than his good patron, old Volpone.
Why, he is dead.
Oh no, my own fathers, he lives.
How? He lives?
Lives.
This is subtler yet.
You said he was dead.
Never.
You said so.
I heard so.
Here comes the gentleman, make him way.
Enter Mosca.
A stool.
A proper man, and were Volpone dead, a fit match for my daughter.
Give him way.
Mosca, I was almost lost. The advocate had betrayed all, but now it is recovered. All's on the hinge again. Say I am living.
What busy knave is this? Most reverend fathers, I sooner had attended your grave pleasures, but that my order for the funeral of my dear patron did require me,
Mosca?
whom I intend to bury like a gentleman.
I, quick, and cousin me of all.
Still, stranger, more intricate.
And come about again.
It is a match. My daughter is bestowed.
Will you give me half?
First I'll be hanged.
I know, your voice is good. Cry not so loud.
Demand the advocate. Sir, did not you affirm Volpone was alive?
Yes, and he is. This gentleman told me so. Thou shalt have half.
Whose drunkard is this same? Speak, some that know him. I never saw his face. I cannot now afford you so cheap.
No!
What say you?
The officer told me.
I did, grave fathers, and will maintain he lives with mine own life, and that this creature told me. I was born with all good stars my enemies.
Most grave fathers, if such an incident as this must pass upon me, I am silent. 'Twas not this for which you sent, I hope.
Take him away.
Mosca,
Let him be whipped.
wilt thou betray me, cousin me?
And taught to bear himself towards a person of his rank.
Away.
And the officers seize Volpone.
I humbly thank your fatherhood.
Shot, whipped, and lose all I have? If I confess, it cannot be much more.
Sir, are you married?
They will be allied anon. I must be resolute. The fox shall here uncase.
And Volpone throws off his disguise.
Patron!
Nay, now my ruin shall come alone. Your match I'll hinder sure. My substance shall not glue you nor screw you into a family.
Why, patron?
I am Volpone, and this is my knave.
Pointing to Mosca, and we'll point to everyone in sequence.
This, his own knave. This, avarice's fool. This, a chimera of withal, fool and knave. And, reverend fathers, since we all can hope naught but a sentence, let's not now despair it. You hear me, brief.
Oh, may it please your fatherhood.
Silence!
The knot is now undone by a miracle.
Nothing can be more clear.
All can prove these innocent.
Give them their liberty.
Heaven could not long let such gross crimes be hid.
If this be held the highway to get riches, may I be poor.
This is not the gain, but torment.
These possess wealth as sick men possess fevers, which trulier may be said to possess them.
Disrobe that parasite.
Most
Honoured fathers.
Can you plead aught to stay the course of justice? If you can.
We beg favor.
We beg favour and mercy.
You hurt your innocence, suing for the guilty. Stand forth. And first, the parasite. You appear to have been the chiefest minister, if not plotter, in all these lewd impostures. And now, lastly, have with your impudence abused the court and habit of a gentleman of Venice, being a fellow of no birth or blood, for which our sentence is, first, thou be whipped, then live perpetual prisoner in our galleys.
I thank you for him.
Vain to thy wolfish nature.
Deliver him to the Sappy.
And Mosca is taken aside.
Thou, Volpone, by blood and rank a gentleman, canst not fail, under like censure, but our judgment on thee is that thy substance all be straight confiscate to the hospital of the incurability, and since the most was gotten by imposture, by feigning lame, gout, palsy, and such diseases, thou art to lie in prison, cramped with irons, till thou best sick and lame indeed. Remove him!
Volpone is taken aside.
This is called mortifying of a fox.
Thou, Voltore, to take away the scandal thou hast given all worthy men of thy profession, art banished from their fellowship and our state. Orbatio, bring him near. We here possess thy son of all thy state, and confine thee to the monastery of Saint Spirito, where, since thou knowest not how to live well here, thou shalt be learned to die well.
What said he?
You shall know anon, sir.
Thou, Corvino, shalt be straight embarked from thine own house and rode round about Venice through the Grand Canal, wearing a cap with fair long ass's ears instead of horns, and so to mount a paper pinned on thy breast to the Berlina.
Yes, and have mine eyes beat out with stinking fish, bruised fruit, and rotten eggs. 'Tis well. I am glad I shall not see my shame yet.
And to expiate thy wrongs done to thy wife, thou art to send her home to her father with her dowry trebled. And these are all your judgments.
Honoured fathers!
Which may not be revoked. Now you begin, when crimes are done and past and to be punished. To think what your crimes are, away with them. Let all that see these vices thus rewarded take heart and love to study them. Mischiefs feed like beasts till they be fat, and then they bleed.
And they exit, apart from Volpone, who does the epilogue.
The seasoning of a play is the applause. Now, though the fox be punished by the laws, yet he doth hope there is no suffering due for any fact which he hath done against you. If there be, censure him. He here doubtful stands, if not fair jovially, jovially, and clap your hands.
And thus, everyone lives happily ever after. I mean, it's a pretty brutal ending. I mean, this is your pucker early modern justice, isn't it? I mean, it's punishment fits the crime quality of, you haven't learned how to live your life, so go to somewhere where you can learn how to die. And I'd just like to do a shout out to the fourth advocate there, who clearly had other plans in mind when Mosca came in, just going, "Oh, I've got a daughter. You're perfect." And it's this lovely series of asides, utterly random, come from nowhere, of just going suddenly, "Oh, I'll marry." Yeah, it'll be a June wedding, and it is clearly planned all this stuff out, and then everything comes crashing down, and the first advocate just goes really hard, full Judge Dredd on everyone, and it's yeah. But how do we feel about these judgments? Because obviously, harsh judgments, but they're all horrible people. But it's a comedy where everyone goes to prison. I mean, apart from the good news is Celia gets lots of money and goes back to her father. I mean, she's not even married off at the end. Additionally married off. They don't kill her current husband and they just marry her off to the guy who rescued her, which in another play would have happened. That would be the ending, wouldn't it? They'd be the obvious sort of couple. But yeah, it's interesting that you have this very tiny marginal role of Benario, who is just there to rescue her and then just be about, and then is basically forgotten about. And I quite like that he's not a romantic lead who is expected to be a romantic lead, because that would have been actually really tedious. Lynn?
Well, yeah, I mean, Celia fares about as well as she can, but that's not really much. I mean, she's still married to Corvino, right? There's really no such thing as divorce. It's too late to have the marriage annulled. So yeah, she's got all this money and she goes back to live with her father. She at least won't be living with her abusive husband anymore. But it's not, she can't get married again until he dies. So she kind of has to hope that he kicks it while she's still marriageable age in order to have anything like a normative life. So yeah, she's better off than she was in a way, but it's not really that great. And Benario gets his father's money, but he loses his dad. He finds out that his dad was willing to sell him down the river. So even for the characters, and they are underdeveloped, who seem to be decent at the core, the ending is just barely adequate. It's not really very happy.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, do we? Well, I'll go to other people first. Aliki, then Sarah.
I mean, I really disagree. I think they get a wonderful ending. I think surely she'd much rather live with her father for however long that is. And then, if she's too old to be marriageable when her husband dies, maybe she'll be a wealthy widow. How fabulous. It's the best thing you could possibly be as an early modern.
In the early modern period, being a rich widow was the best. That was yeah.
Yeah. So, and I can't imagine that, I get their names mixed up, that Benario didn't know his father was a horrible person. He just, I really enjoyed it. I liked the justice. I liked the cruelty of it to the cruel people. And I thought that the good people got their just desserts.
Sarah?
Yeah, Aliki's just pretty much said what I was going to say, but I do think that, by an early modern comedy standard ending, they don't fare too well, because yes, she should really be married off to somebody else and be able to live a normal, happy early modern life and blah blah blah, and yes, his relationship is broken off with his father, but actually by a contemporary for a contemporary audience, that kind of quite sour for the good characters happy ending is actually a bloody brilliant happy ending, because as Aliki says, she basically, as much as she's able to, Celia gets a degree of autonomy. She's suddenly really wealthy and she doesn't have to be abused with or assaulted by any disgusting old men. And yeah, okay, Benario discovers his father is is a toxic old goat, but then, you know, there's, I mean, that kind of really feeds into like a contemporary thing at the moment of like, you know, if you've got toxic people in your life, walk away from them. So I think actually a modern audience would find that ending perhaps more fulfilling and satisfying for the good characters than maybe an early modern audience would have.
Yeah, I mean it's you know it's doing it's cramming a lot in actually, and the downfall here and the turnaround and you know, because we have this sort of false ending almost of the earlier trial scene, and then we have the oh no, I mean I'm not actually sure. I'm sure it is there, but I'm not quite sure why Voltore basically confesses at that point. I'm not quite sure there's enough pressure for him to have confessed. He just sort of does it, and everyone else goes, "No, don't do it." I'm sure there is some text there, but it didn't land for me as a. It just seemed he was just doing it for the sake of the play, moving forward. Lynn, then Eric, muted at present.
Yeah. So the sort of double cross at the end is really clever. The fact that it all falls apart because there's no honor among thieves, because Mosca is not a loyal parasite. He's trying to shake Volpone down. I am reminded weirdly of an old US movie called The Mechanic, and it's about a hired assassin, a professional murderer, who basically kind of takes on an apprentice because why not? Teaches him all the tricks of the trade, training him up to, you know, be an effective hired assassin. And then the trainee, the apprentice, poisons his mentor in order to take over his business, basically. And they were traveling, I think. So he comes home, gets into his late mentor's sports car, finds a little note on the dashboard, looks at it, panics, tries to open the door. It's locked. The car blows up. So they off each other because they kind of know they can't trust each other. So, I mean, of course, the plot was much simpler in that film. But basically, it comes down to no honor among thieves. You know, Mosca.
Yeah, that's that bargaining that they have when it's like, you know, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, I'll give you that, and it just collapses from there. Who was next? Eric.
I was just going to say that the line that confused me was Corvino going, "Yes, and have mine eyes beat out with stinking fish, braised fruit, and rotten eggs," and it just feels kind of. Well, I mean, I don't know about that. Like, I get that he accepts his punishment to a degree, but then it just kind of feels like the extra body horror is just unnecessary. Though I you know, as if I had played as an actor, I'm like, oh yeah, keep it in. I don't know what that line is about, basically.
Aliki, I saw waving.
Yeah, I mean, I think he knows where it's going, and he just reads in the rest. Yes, I know how it is. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
That's how I read it anyway. That's how I understood it.
Yeah. And I'd like to have my eyes beaten out because then I can't see my shame. He doesn't want, you know, he's being publicly shamed. I mean, they're all being publicly shamed. And that's the way this particular society works in terms of its punishment codes function that way. Shaming is a very important part of punishment in the period. Okay, we're into final thoughts about the play overall. Producing it, things to do with it. We've already discussed quite a lot of options about cutting. I don't think I've this ending has changed my mind. I do feel there's a certain tidying up to do with the ending, even though there's so much good about it. I certainly I'm not a huge fan of Subpolitik. So I definitely see a way of trimming this back. I've seen it a number of times with smaller casts, and it does feel that it's very doable. And especially as there's something grotesque about it, a certain amount of doubling with people playing more than one part is sort of invited to be played with. But I'll see what the room thinks. Final thoughts. I'll go to Aliki first. You're returning after a gap, so you missed the middle. But any final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think, I mean, obviously it does get staged a lot in terms of the plays we read, but I think it's very stageable. I think it'd be huge fun. Kind of interesting to see maybe the 4 advocates as 4 puppets or something like that, played by one person. I could totally go for that.
Yeah. Elizabeth, you've only been here for this session. Your final thoughts?
Oh, I loved Volpone. I thought it was really, really good. I've not been fortunate enough to see it performed, so I just got a bit of a taste of it today. I loved the Avocatori. I thought they were brilliant. And I think it was Alika was just saying about like maybe making them be puppets. And I was thinking of like Muppets, and I was thinking that could be really funny, a kind of Avenue Q type of thing. So I enjoyed it a lot. I think the ending was very harsh for a comedy. I was a bit shocked. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go that far with the ending. But I liked it a lot, and I feel like it's not as wordy as Jonson usually is, but it's still very wordy. And I think that cutting it down idea is one of those moments where I have to say, yeah, you can fix this one. You can fix this play if you just like trim it down a bit. So I thought that I really enjoyed it overall.
Yes, you also feel like, there's like Sir Janus to a degree. You can tell he's done some research. There's all this stuff about these little details about Venice that are thrown in there. He's done the work, and yes, it's a much tighter thing. I mean, and we talk about harshness. He hasn't killed a dog or anything in this one, so I feel we're on the up. Nobody has actually died, and everyone has come out the other side unscathed beyond traumatic experiences. So, trust me, it can get a lot worse in the early modern. Eric, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel a bit like biased because I kind of already enjoyed this play, and I don't know how to look at it sort of in a way that is, more distant, even though we've read it over time. I don't know. Obviously you could perform it with the smaller cast and so on and so forth. The kind of way that you basically would, the way you're dreaming of it. But it has to be, I think, staged rather than audio, because there's all this physical business, even if you cut out the tortoise scene, it just feels like, you need to have all the physical business of them hiding and that kind of thing and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's important for it to be staged. Otherwise, it just gets lost in translation, I think, otherwise.
Yeah, and just a shout out for everyone who's been saying how much they like the avocatos. I actually, for once, I'm not going, we should reduce the number of avocatos down from 4. That was sort of my initial thought. But actually, they work so well as a unit. They're actually really realised nicely. And though some of them are more pointed than others, they all have something to play with. So you've got a group dynamic as well as an individual dynamic, and that's actually really fun to play with. And I think 4 is the right number as well. I think 3 wouldn't work, 2 wouldn't work. 1 would. You could do 1 where it's just a judge, but you would lose something there. And if you can make the doubling work, then I think it's worth having them. If it turns out that they're nano, etc. in the doubling, then if we kept them as characters, then they work nicely. Minna, you've only been here for this session. Any thoughts you want to throw in?
Yes, I mean, I spent a lot of time just trying to hang with the plot, who was who, but I thought there was some really nice, I quite enjoyed the language of it, and I thought that all characters had some really, really juicy lines there, which kind of made me think, again, you want this staged, small mistake, but kind of just struck me a little bit. It was like, I wrote a couple of them there, like Moscow saying, "We'll crump you like a hog louse with the touch." It's just really random, lovely things. And it made me just made this weird sort of connection in my head about how I could see it be with like big character actors, because then people are so just enjoying these sort of strange twists of language and forms of expression, which are really quite beautiful. And was, in a little bit way that, get these big, like Patrick Stewart style character actors to come along. And that would make sense of what Eric was saying about, you need the character having to stay, but you also enjoy seeing some big character like that actually also just doing something other small character that randomly turns up, a woman or whatever. it kind of just brings a clarity to it, and also just, I don't know, gives it more depth of it. And I just think that some of everybody had little phrases here and there which go, oh, that was tasty and meaty. I liked that. And, you know, people just like hearing them said. Is what struck me in sort of trying to follow the text. So, but I think stage, definitely.
Alan, any final thoughts?
Too many notes, Mr. Mozart.
Yes, but that's why we can cut plays. That's fine. There isn't a problem with too many notes. That is not a structural problem. I keep saying this. I will keep saying this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but trying to work out which bits to cut and how is
we cut 900 already this session. We cut nearly 1,000 words.
I like the tortoise.
I love the tortoise, but I'm thinking to save the play, the tortoise has to go. Sadly. Because I feel that, but no, other people may disagree. Those at home, you know, I'm sure there are productions that have done the tortoise. I remember tortoises. I've forgotten all about the tortoise, and it could be done separately. It's almost a detachable scene that could be done anywhere. I feel have tortoise will travel.
You could almost take the Peregrine Sopolitic and make a play out of the 3-4 scenes in which they appear, with the culmination being the tortoise.
I don't know. You could, because the other scenes are really boring. I mean, I'm not often this down on a sequence, but they're doing in-jokes from the early Jacobean period. They're making topical references. So unless you have a lecture to go with it to explain what's being said, which we could do. I mean, as an educational product, I think that would be a very interesting thing we could do, and it wouldn't, you know, be easy put together. But as a part of a dynamic play like this, we clearly just going, when's Volpone coming back on? When's Volpone coming? When's Mosca coming back on? When's anybody else coming on? Rather than Sopolitic, bless his cotton socks. Though he is a tortoise, isn't he? That does tell us who he is now, doesn't he? He should be played like a tortoise. That scene has given us a direction of travel, so maybe I'm wrong. I probably am. Sarah, any final thoughts?
I don't know that this is possible, but I wonder if you could make, like, literally. I do take what you were saying earlier about how it's, you know, it's a tenth of what needs cutting. It's like it's a big chunk of what needs cutting. But I wonder if you could get the tortoise right down to the bare shell of the tortoise. Just the very end bit of that scene, and give it to Volturi or someone. I don't know. I'd be really loath to lose that, but I totally agree. Cut all the Sopolitic and Peregrine stuff. Get rid of them as characters. I'd also be tempted to get rid of all the masks. Get rid of the servants, the 3 servants. I'd also be tempted to actually because I was playing Celia in that. In those in today's session, and all I can say is thank God Jonson gave her a decent ending, because he really betrayed her in terms of like her character and the dialogue she got, because it was just basically all she did was pray, you know. And so I'd be kind of tempted to cut her and Benario as well, and then you could actually have them doubling with the avocados. You could have them playing the avocados, because they really say so little. And if Celia's fate is decided for her when she's not there, I think that actually plays into the themes of the play that we've had so far already about the powerlessness of women. So you could then have the actor playing Celia and the actor playing Benario actually playing the avocados, and that would help with some of your doubling.
I think for clarity of storytelling, we'd need to see them there.
Maybe.
I think they could definitely double with some of the other venal characters. I see no reason why they couldn't double there. Because they can come in and out of the court, so you can do some really quick, you know. I see a lot of this doubling is quick changes and making that the playful fun of the event. Because I see that that is sort of part of it.
I think you could get it down, though, relatively easily, and that does make it stageable. And I don't know. I think I'd want to lean into. I mentioned in I think it was the first session that we did this play in that Volpone's like a dragon sitting on his hoard at one point, and I would really want to, if it was me staging this, I'd really want to have a set and have an environment where there was just there was a literally big pile in the corner of all the stuff that he that people have brought him, and really sort of lean into the mercantile the greed and the money thing, and just have a big dragon hoard in the corner and him gloating over it, and then have various people falling into it or trying to climb up it or appearing from out of it.
It's weird because we have that opening speech, which is gold, and then he doesn't really care from that point onwards in the same way. He's much more interested in the game,
but everybody else does. That's
everybody else is really keen on the dragon's hoard. It's the lure that brings them in, or the myth of his dragon's hoard. I mean, that's the other thing. How real is it? Anyway, we need to finish final thoughts. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Another text that I keep thinking of as we read through this is Les Liaisons Dangereuses, where your lead character, the Vicomte de Valmont, isn't after money, he's after women. But again, it's not really so much about the getting laid, to put it crudely. He really isn't as any more obsessed with sex than Volpone is with money per se. What they get a charge out of is manipulating people. Getting people to do, having power over people makes them feel alive. And I think the takeaway is the same in both these narratives, that radical selfishness always fails. In the end, it always fails. That radical selfishness is not a sustainable way of being in the world. So I think that would be my key into Volpone, is that that there is no honor among thieves. There's no real relationship between Volpone and Mosca, although they might both think there is. They don't really care about each other, and that's why their plan fails. So I even though none of these characters is really very realistic, I think that radical selfishness way of being in the world is not really that unrealistic. I mean, I like what Rob said. Grotesque is a perfect word. I mean, there's kind of a Grand Guignol vibe to this. But I mean, as we are finding out on our side of the herring pond right now, that when your ethic is radical selfishness, eventually the power players turn against each other. There's no working together. So I think that is the angle that I'm going for. But the question is, when does Mosca turn on Volpone? When does his long game start to show? Is it when he gets Celia in the room, when he knows Benario is there? Does he know that? Or is it later? Does it not occur to him till Volpone says, "Here, I'll put your name in my will," and then the light bulb goes off? That's a decision a director has to make. When does Mosca turn on Volpone?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have run out of time on Volpone. We managed to cram a lot in and still managed to get a decent discussion out of it at the end. It wasn't just all the words and then, that was a play. So, till next time, all that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Let's see him creep.